look like good?
Go for it. I'm going to sit down over here.
Record.
Alright, we all in?
Yeah.
Don't feel it.
Mike,
Mike, you never will, man.
everybody move on.
Am I in the mix?
Hey, Hobey,
Yes, sir.
I read your stuff, man. This week's paper.
There's a lot of dirt on this
Huh?
one, right?
I read your stuff. It's going in this week's paper.
Oh, there is stuff going in?
Yeah, it's spiral carpets and,
Yeah.
Neil?
Charlotte's.
Neil,
yeah,
will you do me a really big favor?
what's that?
Will you take our photo in tomorrow morning?
Take your what?
Photo in. I know the deadline's Friday, but will you take it tomorrow, please?
Yeah.
Tell him tomorrow.
Neil, if you love us, you'll
Neil, yes, we'll wait.
Look, I was gonna take it anyway. They just did. There was a chance. I mean, it could have been in this week's paper after all. That's why I called.
They don't go. Well, you go to press.
The only reason deadlines changed at all is because we moved any other week if we don't have shit Friday and it's bumped up. But today we wanted to do Friday all the stuff we didn't have. So I called you to see if you could bring it back.
Right. Well, if you could take tomorrow, then you just have it, so in case you can use it.
Yeah, so set. Hey, that's pretty empty. What's that, fish eye?
Yeah, I think you're the fish up.
As
Give
much
me
off
that
this
coat.
little box.
Free sponsorship.
Superman.
Richie, love to be there.
That's my money. Free sponsorship. I'm just bummed out.
And Levi's.
No, man, that Levi's. See, that's I gotta talk to Plansker about coin and that.
See, now you see, you got his mind ticking down there.
No, you totally did. No, because I realized there's something really weird with him putting on that he has no credits on there, really specifically. And one, his dad edited it. His dad should get credit. I should get 50% writing credit. And some directorial credit.
Yeah, we're all set.
Oh, no, I'm in.
Scratching that beard now, then.
No, man, I mean, like when Neil says, yeah, that dude, you know, I'm just like, damn, that's right. This dude totally selling it to the toys.
Costs incredible amounts of money in copyrights.
Like films, because I know for music it's not that much.
For the videotapes, it's horrible.
Really?
Even for the name for his company,
Yeah, the company
it's got to be
name is
something like
horrible.
$400 to $700.
Really?
How much?
700.
700? Okay.
For that, the name of the magazine. For my company name and my logo.
$700.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that for a while.
Yeah, we figured out risk it. Thank you. Well, what do you guys want? I can ask the basic questions. Since there's not really much of a history in my mind, it's hard for me to.
Well, we came from the band Spawn Ranch. We was together for about 4 years. Got the years, homie. What was the years?
Like 80, 85 through 89.
No.
I joined the band in about 87. Spawn Ranch started out, you know, a lot of the ideas behind it were real primitive and tried to avoid a lot of, like not so much pretension, but it was really much more intuitive. And Odell and I, through that experience, managed to kind of get into music kind of from the ground up as opposed to a lot of kids, you know, starting off with really good equipment and sort of a really prefigured idea of what they want to do. We were kind of doing what we could do really well. And
Literally from the ground up.
literally, his drum set used to be right on the ground, and we used to always play sitting down because we had to look at the strings and stuff. And I mean, you know, as hokey as that sounds, it was actually, I mean, we could pull it off. And you got to remember, like when Detroit bands started to happen, all your Second Selves and Crosswires, and you know, a lot of the bands, they were so big and bad. And you know, our whole idea all along was just to kind of stay small with it and keep it something that was believable and accessible. You know, something that didn't look too difficult. It wasn't a showing off thing.
And then Dave I've known since high school, and I always knew he could sing. And he would see Spawn Ranch and whatnot, but it was even deeper than that because he was an old friend. And he came to the studio one time at Spawn Ranch and laid down the track. And ever since then, I knew I wanted to work with Dave. Or Mike, we would see at shows. He's got such similar musical interest. That then we heard him play guitar, and Mike's going, "No, man, I can't play guitar,
They
man."
begged me to join.
That's what was funny is after a party one night, we were all back here just jamming in the basement, and we just had this one little riff, and I went home and got my bass, and Dave's mumbling something, and Odell's banging something out, and just came up with something, and it winds up being, to this day, it's one of our best songs, a song called Faint Sleep. But it started from that whole kind of, just that real intuitive thing. And we all knew each other as people, and we've all been, hanging out. I used to live with Dave in Ann Arbor and stuff. Mike's been pretty much supplying the band, but all of us with music since, God knows when. A.R. Kane and all that kind of stuff. He turned us onto that back when Dave and I used to live in Hamtramck. And, finally, it's kind of like, we kind of knew what we wanted to do personality-wise. We knew we had the idea right and the chemistry right. I mean, nobody's in this band for their playing talent, because that's not what it's about. You know what I mean? We're not hired guns. We're not session musicians.
It's more like sounds are more important than
Completely.
than like reading music and stuff.
It's an old cliche, but I can't play. It's just like, I'm into creating sound, and that's it. It's like Hobey was talking about today. You have to have confidence in whatever you're doing. If it's just playing one note, that's the way I look at it. That one note has to become part of you. I mean, that sounds horrible, but that's what it's down to with me playing. I think that's a lot of the stuff we do.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of music is done not from the ground up. It's sort of done with these prefigured ideas, and it seems to sort of half-assedly settle in to a level, whereas our stuff is literally risen from one note. And because of that, it's got this real feeling of intuitiveness to it, and it's organic. I mean, this stuff has happened because it happened naturally. I mean, we have some practices where we'll be doing something that's just really repetitious, and it will change into something else. And we don't, our term for it is we call them windows. And basically what they are is they're that whole, we take it from, some ideas like reggae, dub, and things like that. But it's the idea that something happens and it reaches a certain emotional level that it's changed. And that kind of a dynamic. And although that, that sounds kind of like haughty literary terms, when we try to do it on the absolute simplest level, because that's about the only way we can deal with it. What's nice is, although we all have pretty naive musical ideas, I think they're really true.
Do you think this will ever change if we get really good equipment?
No, I hope not.
Always the wallet. No, it's just it's the kind of thing. I mean, a lot of what we're doing, it's making the best with what we've got, and what we've got isn't a ton, and it's difficult to do that. It's really difficult, sometimes. I mean, what we're realizing is that we're a band that has, you could pawn all our equipment and probably buy a razor, a disposable one at that, and it's although I wouldn't, but it's. We've never been about sort of this whole big idea.
But what's tripped out is we played a show at Ypsilanti, Eastern Michigan, and your brother, as a matter of fact, said that he sounded like, coming out of that little amp, he sounded like 3 guitars and a keyboard in the background or something like that. So sometimes, the more simple you are, the more sound.
So completely. I mean, our total orientation in music was all that whole punk rock thing. And it was that whole idea of just make do with what you have. I mean, playing beat-up drum sets, having to beat the hell out of them to get a decent sound. Or with a bass, what you couldn't play note-wise, make that form intensity.
3 strings.
And for him,
he plays a 3-string guitar.
Total economy of sound. And it's just you go with what you know, and that's about. What we know is staying real simple with stuff. I mean, that way when you stay real simple with something, when you do come up with something, it really shines through for what it is. It's a real achievement, And I think if music's going to be accessible, it's something you need to be able to follow, If it's going to change, if it's going to grow, you have to be able to see that, And that's the thing, our ideas, they're really down to earth.
What's the man of few words have to say here? Dave, the singer.
So what?
About what we're talking about. Another pass your smoke.
Should we all introduce ourselves?
God, no.
We just think we jam, pretty much. I don't know. You have to come and see the shows. We come into your town.
Well, see, that's something else too, man. It's like Dave's lyrics and stuff are we get into sort of this idea that you can't ever be too naive, but the whole idea is that something has to feel fresh. And a lot of times just being real simple. And Dave will come up with these lyrical combinations that are just so lowercase, they're so understated, and and mellow, but there's something that rings really true about it, you know? And it's just so neat with so many bands taking on bigger and bigger things that we can just quiet down. I mean, what's so weird is like, you know, maybe our first 4 songs, a lot of them were about kind of the same thing. There's a song called Feigned Sleep. And it's kind of about this kind of half hazy area, and it's about like, you know, desire and questioning things, just like really simple questions. I mean, literally songs about waking up and those first feelings of the day, the smallest, most mellow, little even-paced emotions you can imagine. But that's what's great about them. They're really honest. You know, I mean, we're not yelling really much about anything until, you know, we felt like we've grown to the point where you can yell about it.
Yeah, not being a rock band, and Mike, you always say that too, because there's so many loud bands out there, and it just seems like they force what their sound is on you simply out of volume.
I think it's so much more extreme to be soft these days, because anybody can rock out, and it's like completely sickening. It's like, to me, it's more dangerous to take it to like close to silence, which I don't know if we've achieved yet, but it's something I'd like to do. You know? But I don't
We'll achieve it until we get a good amp. We don't have to worry about it.
I don't mind.
Pretty much no choice.
But I don't mind noise. I mean, it's like I like the extremes, you know. And I think that's what I like the band to be about. And the middle part's cool too.
Well, the key is dynamics. I mean, all music, it's got to sort of start from an idea, it kind of questions itself, and it kind of turns into something else. You get an answer, you ask a question, you get an answer. And like that's just basically what we try to do musically. We get a really simple idea, there's a break about it, and there's something real, like for us it just rings really true musically, you know. And what's neat is you get it in a product and you realize like, hey, this is the way songs are written, you know, old blues songs, you know. My baby left me, oh yeah, she left me, but I know her sister's number, you know what I mean? That's typical blues rapport, you know. And we're like, damn, banging around in the basement for like 6 months, realizing, you know, all our songs kind of have this part and this break and then this window thing. And, you know, we've just basically discovered what a song is. You know what I mean? Which is so neat. We're not reading it in books, and we're not going, yeah, I want to sound like this dude, or like...
Hey, what are those bands that we just play the same riff over and over again? You know, we're obviously not afraid of that either, because sometimes that can become a powerful tool too, is repetition, you know? Because sometimes when I hear a song that I like, I wish that they'd go on longer with something, because you don't even have time to really set into it before they change it to some break, or, you know what I mean? So we try to work on that too, you know?
Yeah, the idea is that you can't really ever musically, you know, understate what you're doing. I mean, we're not doing something that's like, there's a lot of really good quality, really big, loud, brash music that just slaps you around. And yeah, it's real easy to get a reaction. You smack somebody, they're gonna bruise. You know, I mean, that's like, you know, it's a lot more difficult to get a reaction if you just sort of like caress the issue, you know? And I mean, not to get too flowery with the language, but it's like, you know, there's a lot of really loud bands doing a lot of really loud things, and we like to do stuff that kind of comes up on its own little epiphany, its own little awakening and stuff. And sometimes that means going into a real subtle little riff and just keeping that going. But the thing is it changes, it gets into like this drone, it becomes sort of meditation. You know, like a lot of reggae, it just keeps repeating and repeating, but eventually the effects and stuff, it becomes something else.
And I think Mike's tuning has a lot to do with that too, because we don't use standard tuning on his 3-string guitar. We have 2 guitars, a 6-string and a 3-string. And I still don't know how you guys figure the tuning out with that, but somehow you guys...
So he brought it to practice. He brought it to practice just with something that naturally had fallen into. And he didn't know what it was. And it took me about 2 practices to figure out what it was. And so that's the only way we can retune it. And it's just a totally off tuning. It's not even a chord.
I still don't think it's the way it was when I first brought
It's
it.
close enough.
It's
close enough.
It was crucial when I first brought it.
So you guys would say you worked in layers then? Something of that nature?
Layers,
Yeah.
as far as what?
With the different instruments?
Um,
One, is that the way?
I guess we do naturally in a way. You know, I guess it kind of happens that way.
Like you come in with guitar line.
Yeah, that's the way it always seems. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not like a bass line that you feel.
Like fog.
So it doesn't work inside?
It doesn't work inside.
You know, another key too is that, you know, musically, it's the idea of like nothing's really, you know, it's all really complementary. I mean, a lot of times, like the guitar will go for more of a textural element, or it'll sort of just answer what's going on vocally and stuff. And with that, I mean, this stuff it's a lot more sort of ponderous. It's not as obvious as a lot of music, just because it's simple. And when I say it's not obvious, I mean, it just isn't this huge brash element. But what's cool is when we do something that's kind of like, you know, approaches rock or something, is it really stands out. You know what I mean? I mean, we go through a half hour screaming. If you scream a little more after that half hour, you know, who cares? You know, you've been hearing it the whole time.
Oh, let's talk about your stripping on stage.
What about
Let's
that?
get to that. Hope's a man who starts off with a whole outfit, and by the end of the show, he's got nothing on. Could you explain that?
I'm left-handed. Okay, dig this. See, I've got these big-ass sleeves, and I'm playing this left-handed bass. There's all these knobs, and this is going boom, and my volume's going this, and my tone's
Ever
doing
heard
that.
rolling them up?
And so I'm like, well... And so I don't want to look like some disco prick by going, you know, high, so I take off my shirt. And then you start sweating and stuff, and you just get into it, man. That's pretty much it, you know. You got a problem with that? You know?
Obviously not, Holmes.
Yeah, okay, pal. Okay.
By the way, I'm Odell Nails. Introduce
You can
yourself.
do that.
That would be funny.
Go ahead. Hold on a second.
You're gonna call
This is
stuff
just a crack up.
I know I can't even pay attention to what people are saying.
Okay.
This is the view we're talking about.
The what?
The back view, you're right.
Yeah.
Is there a part where this is Jody in this?
I don't know where she was. She's right on the powwow. Yeah, you're not in there either.
Okay. Start with Michael.
Why do I have to start?
I don't know.
Drum that in. Let me give you a break.
Hi, low self-esteem.
My name is Michael.
Why do I have to start?
I just want to react off what the others say and do parodies of what they've said. You know.
Just introduce yourself.
My name is Michael Segal. I play guitar with Majesty Crush. Let's see.
You brought Dave.
Should I reiterate what we said?
This is Mike's favorite toy. Show
This is my toy.
You collecting.
Yeah, kind of. Whenever I find something I like. I think it's cute, it's positive, it's smiling. I like it. Mike Segal, guitarist, Majesty Crush, play 3-string and a 6-string. Joined the band early '90.
Could be about it.
That's probably it. I write most of the songs, the others follow.
We walk in line with Mike.
Yeah, we're kind of the crushed red velour players of this lounge.
Yeah, that's about it. His turn.
I'm Odell. I play drums.
Hold on a second. Okay, now.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Odell, I play drums. Finally, I'm sitting down, no longer on my knees like it was in Spawn Ranch. Much more happy.
My name's Hobey Echlin. I play bass for Majesty Crush.
That's it, Mr. Man?
That's it, man. That's it. I'm a man of few words.
David Stroughter, lead throat.
Parole by a lady.
Wait, show me. Do you have your little picture on you? The one that you took from work? Okay. Parole violence takes on you meaning of that.
How about microphone acquisition? Should we have a little discussion of that? Or plead the fifth? What else? Ask us some more questions, man.
What
About
are you up
influences
to?
and things like that.
Okay, fine, influences. Well, describe your music. What do you think it is to you?
Didn't they already do that?
They did that, I guess.
We like name bands or we just like
Well,
listen
the
to
key to what we're doing is it's really indicative of what we can do based on our technical proficiency. You know, I think a lot of bands overstep that. I mean, there's a lot of bands that like their sound is basement, but they have these huge arena notions to them. You know, I mean, just witness all the like, in excess rip-offs, and everybody just trying to be big and loud, and you got to build up to that. I mean, the Cure started out in little basements, just weaseling around with, a couple of pints, just that kind of stuff. And I mean, what we do is we'll come up with like a little idea that'll just have a little click to it, that makes it sort of catchy and stuff, and then something else will happen, and we'll just fiddle around with that.
Plus, the sound is more important than the equipment. That's one thing that I think, that the sound is just more important than the equipment. equipment. Like what emotion you're getting out of the sound is more important than if you're hitting a Ludwig or a piece of wood. You know, it's the emotion.
No, also I feel like if it gets to a point where we're just running through a song, forget it. If we're just going verse, chorus, it can't go from point A to point B. There has to be like this little thing in between that's so special. You know, that's what I like to get out of it. You know, like he's talking about the windows, just something that isn't just a run through of a song. We've had songs like that and they're like gone. You know? Like Oh Baby.
Quick deaths.
Yeah, I mean, songwriting is a task, doesn't mean anything. I mean, you can punch in and like do it, you know? I mean, there's like, you know, hi, it's time to be. I mean, we're doing stuff that sounds like really naive and little kid and like, you know, this sandbox stuff. But it's like, you know, that's the way we do it. And it's, you know, there's no idea too naive. And if we can pull the complexity off, we can pull it off. If we can't, we don't do it. I mean, the key is like trying to stay honest with it based on the fact that like we don't have a ton, you know, we're not sitting around trying to figure out, you know, I mean, I don't play bass like a bass player. You know, I play it almost like a keyboard or a lead instrument or something. I mean, bands like Joy Division and New Order use that. You know, he plays guitar sometimes just more like a tone or something like that. You know, Odell's drum kit, I mean, a lot of times, you know, it's nothing snappy or funky. It's real simple, you know. And the whole idea is to keep it, it keeps it accessible and it keeps it honest, you know. Because, like, I mean, we love the hell out of funk and all that kind of stuff. But it's like it isn't, you know, it's not something I can do naturally. You know,
I like tribal rhythms a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea is like, you know, this stuff is more of a, you know, people coming together and kind of this lowest common denominator thing, this rhythm idea and stuff, you know, and it's kind of, you know, it's ambiguous sometimes, but I mean, that's another way of saying it's just unfettered, you know, it's just not all that complicated, you know, and it builds something that just, it might not be that obvious, but that doesn't mean it isn't there, you know, and to me, that's a whole lot more honest. You know,
be honest, what do you like better, French fries or escargot? You like French fries, you know what I mean?
But we're not French.
It's the carbohydrate reference.
What about the moods?
They tend
to be a little more darker. Not. It's just kind of maybe the nature of the band. I wouldn't say any of us is genuinely exuberant or over happy, but it's not that we're depressive. But like they just have these kind of more moodier tones to them, I would say. Sometimes, you know, we'll have arguments about that.
Yeah, it just isn't always really like obvious, and it's not really happy because it isn't. I mean, in a lot of ways, a lot of what the song is trying to do is it's the whole song is spent sort of trying to be a song, trying to maintain an idea. And sometimes those tensions, I mean, that's like why some stuff has a lot of dark quality. You can sort of feel it coming together and stuff. You know, as opposed to bands that go in and go, bam, we're here, and hi, we're done. You know, I mean, that's, you know, our stuff has a lot more, you know, it's that whole process of the song happening, you know, which is, I mean, that's why we don't like write songs. We just kind of come up with something. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know, you hit a little something you like, you stick with it, and you work it until it identifies itself. You know, and that's the whole point. I mean, like our songs sometimes take the whole song to really sort of become itself. But that's all, you know, that's okay. I mean, we're not songwriting. We're just sort of hanging out with instruments.
Sound sculpture.
Totally. Stone soup with guitar.
I'll never forget Mike said,
What?
man, I can't play guitar with you guys. I'm not a guitarist. We're like, man, we don't want a guitarist.
That's exactly
We want
why.
someone who can sculpt some sounds, basically.
We
Which
played.
I've yet to do.
Which you do
Leave it
well.
alone.
Sid.
Leave it alone.
Shut up.
Like my shoes a little dirty. No, it's kind of. I mean, we've worked with real players before, real guitarists and stuff,
Never worked out.
and it doesn't work because you know people like that, they're bored with what we're doing, which is fine. I mean,
and I'm
players
bored with what they're doing. Personally.
You know, I mean, you can go on a Letterman show and sit there and do whatever and get all respected or whatever, but it's like I'm not capable of that. I'm not going to sit around. I mean, I can appreciate the hell out of everything. You know, I love jazz, I love all that stuff, but it just isn't something I do, you know, based on where I am now. We're not trying to be over ambitious, you know. I mean, to the point of being really naive, but it's like that simplicity. You know, I think that's why rap is so successful. It isn't profound. It's that it's so simple and accessible. I mean, you hear the stuff, you recognize it. You know, it isn't just kind of coming at you. It's got a more drawn out feel to it and stuff. And we're very influenced by those sorts of ideas, those ideas of repetition and stuff. You know, and the thing is, we just try to throw a little warmth in. I mean, it's, again, man, it's like, you know, so much of what we're doing. I mean, a lot of it's about being in a cold basement, hanging out. You know, we had this one practice after a lot of us had gotten some really different bad news. And that practice, that one mood of that practice, you know, was responsible for at least one song. I mean, it was just the weirdest practice and stuff. But it totally had to do with, you know, hey man, that's what we all are, you know, and we couldn't play, say, other songs or something. I mean, you know, that's like weirdly honest, you know, almost, you know, I don't think it's pretentious, I just think it's honest. You know, we don't just go in and go, tick, 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 you know. Our stuff's generally a reflection of where we are. We come together after, you know, a hard day of work or something, or with a bunch of other stuff. We go down there, it's okay to create something a little more. Or after, you know, after you work out or something, you know. But it's like, you know, sometimes when we're doing is sort of like a rest or sort of a contemplation musically.
Yeah, 9 out of 10, it genuinely does feel good to be with one another playing music. It's therapy. For me personally, I can't even speak for these guys, but...
Oh, it's completely cathartic, you know? I mean, there's sometimes that you just want to do something. You know, you spend the whole day thinking, man, I can't wait to jam this tune, and it's just a real release. You know, anything you do that you're good at, that you really feel it, you know what I mean? I mean, you might not, you know, you can only draw a certain way, but you know when you draw, you know that feeling you get, and you keep going back to it. You know, you're not the greatest, you're not the worst, but that's something that works for you. That's all you can be, is that honest, you know what I mean? And, you know, our deal is we try to do that. It's that simple.
Have you ever had a problem with audiences because you're not just, you know, like you were saying, because of the moods?
Not yet.
Well, what is strange is that despite all this sort of hippie trippiness of which we're describing it, live we come off really pretty direct. You know, live it takes on a whole different quality because, one, Dave, we don't really have that sophisticated a PA system where Dave can really hear what he's doing. So when he can, there's a lot more room to play. And the thing is, down in the basement, it's real small, and then when you pull it out live, there's a lot more room for getting bigger and stuff.
I remember the first time I heard Dave, as a matter of fact, our first large show, it surprised me because I never had heard him on a good system, and I didn't realize how good he actually sang. And I'll never forget that because I was like, okay, now can Dave actually sing here? Now we hear him in the basement.
Yeah, I mean,
Sounds okay.
Sounds like an AM radio and a truck or.
But have you ever had problems with audiences?
Not yet.
No, the key is you just play the right gig. You know, you play like where it's people that are more about appreciating what you're doing. You know, we're not there really to entertain.
We're never gonna play crew.
I had a problem with a skinhead.
Yeah.
Threw some shit at me, but
We have a show coming up where we might have with Wig, the audience. It's gonna be like an Ann Arbor hipper than thou audience. You know, sub pop,
showerless
birthday party, and we're gonna put our subtleties up there and we're gonna see what happens. So we're playing with Royal Trucks and Wig, and those are two kind of different things, but they're both kind of
harder or whatever.
Harder, more, you know, derelict.
Well, see, it's something that kind of bugs music. Music as it becomes more, you know, intriguing or interesting, it seems like it has to be brasher, more controversial. And there's a lot of bands doing it, and they're doing it really well, and I think that's great. But it's just like, you know, that's not where we are. We don't have, I mean, you know, why? You know, I mean, they can do it, and they're so big and bad and loud, but to me, that can get one-dimensional. It's a one-trick pony. It's intense, so's eating candy bars all day, you know.
To
you
me,
get sick of that
it
shit.
boils down to what I listen to at home, because, you know, sometimes, you want to get awakened and livened up, so you put on a rock record, but there's many times that I want to hear something with, you know, it's more subtle, you know what I mean? At home, just think about what you listen to at home, or what I listen to.
A lot of it's influenced by driving, too. I mean, one of the phenomena of living in Detroit is that it's real commuter-oriented, spending a lot of time in your car. And a lot of times you're stuck in traffic, windows are all up, you know, this incredible visual thing. In music, you can really get into it. You know, drive to Chicago and listen to one record and drive back, and you'll never look at that record the same. You know, you get really into it. Kind of like old Zeppelin records, you know, you're like, it's like reading a book, you know what I mean? The way you used to just get really into it. And I think that's a lot of our orientation. I mean, we take it, you know, the way we've used music in our lives, it's always been sort of like as a soundtrack, as this real sort of, you know, it's not so much a flag so much as it is a blanket, you know. And
That's a good one, Hobey.
Mr. Metaphor starts again.
We call this guy Mr. Metaphor.
I ain't no rock journalist for no how.
He's always got the right words to say for the right situation, Holmes. Don't Don't think
You
I'm
gotta
dumb.
use the part where he says I'm a man of few words, though.
Yeah, we're gonna keep splicing to that, sample that. And then, as I said, Wittgenstein once mused, I'm a man of few words, I'm a man of few words, I'm a man of few, you know, I'm a man of few words, I'm a man of few words.
What about influences?
Personally, I mean, it goes back to punk, like Hobey said, but I've totally gotten that out of me, that whole punk thing. But like the attitude of using what you have and doing with what you have, you know, that's still there. But but like as far as influences currently, it would be like some of the more like extreme things. Like for myself, like I'm into like the whole Spaceman 3 thing, you know, that type of thing. But it's not like you want to emulate them. It's just like you want to kind of take what you like and take those aspects with what you can do with it. And it's kind of like using extremes like silence and noise. And I don't know if I ever achieve it, but you know, it's something I strive for. You know,
Silence can be just as loud as noise. That's one thing
yeah.
that you're pretty much done. You know?
But yeah,
Balance is the total.
But a lot of times it just ends up in the middle, you know, and that's kind of disappointing. But it's just, I don't know. There has to be like a total band mindset with it, you know, with something like that.
Yeah, and I think one of the real keys to influences too, I mean, a lot of it's mood influences.
Right.
You know, like for me, my biggest influences are like driving, waking up in the morning, and like, you know, just like the real simple things, you know, like, you know, I mean, this isn't a total reference point, but like Anita Baker was on Donahue the other day. She did this song, and just the way she goes, which is like the song's real repetitive, and her vocal just takes a little bit of a twist, you know, and it just hits you so hard because out of this sort of monotone pop song, this voice just kind of lilts, you know, and it's got this real thing, and like those kinds of little musical epiphanies and stuff really stick with me, you know, little points where like something happens and it just changes, you know, it's that whole window idea. You know, and a lot of those experiences in life, like shit that really, it hits you and it just really affects you, you know? I mean, it's like musically, I love so much stuff that I can't even think about playing, you know what I mean? And I prefer to keep it that way, you know, because that's, you know, that's what I would buy, that's what I would listen to, you know? I mean, there's a lot of great music, you know, I love Wig, I love the Laughing Hyenas, but that stuff doesn't get anywhere near our music, it just isn't the same thing.
Al Green, I like Al Green a lot. And Neubauer.
In a way, I think all of us like music so much that part of the reason we're in a band is almost that I think if you love something so much, you almost owe that something back. You know what I mean? And music's played such a big part of my life and these guys' lives that it's almost cool that we can give it back in a way. You know, you can express what you like and give it back to music because music is so important to me.
And it's kind of good not to think about other things when you make your music because it's got to be your own. But inevitably, your influences are going to come through. But still, you can't think of what you want to sound like.
But it's, you know,
people will tell you what you sound like.
So much of it's the spirit of it, you know. I mean, like there's little things Public Enemy will do with tone. You know, like on Fight the Power, there's this anvil sound that they mix into their drum. It just totally changes the character of it. Or like in Iggy, Now I Want to Be Your Dog, there's that one little piano line. Totally changes the character of it. And we've got some stuff where like we try to put a tone in or something that just, that one little thing can just totally change what we're doing, you know. And those kind of influences I think play a lot. You know, if you're talking about direct musical influences,
Dave, what's your
subtle artist, subtle.
I want to hear our singers' influences.
America's Most Wanted.
No, I'm influenced by a lot of things, but I don't know, as far as this band is concerned, I just think that everyone has their own personal favorites, and together, you know, it's so different. So, I don't know, you just have to
I think the
listen to the music and you know, hopefully it'll express an emotion. You know, usually the music that I like expresses emotion, extreme emotion. You know, I love. You know, I write so far all of the lyrics, but I like people who are really expressive with their lyrics, like for example, Syd Barrett, I think, is to me the best example I could give of that. And I just can't figure out how he comes up with some of his ideas. You know, he must be, I mean, obviously he's insane, but
A given.
but still he's a genius. And, but I don't know, there's so many bands, there's just so much music. You just have to, you know, you like whatever you like. You know, you try not to copy anyone, you do what you know how to do, and I think that's what we do. So.
Yeah, bands like The Fall are really good with that, just being really ultra simple, but being able to totally enshrine that with a sense of character.
Yeah, I'm a big
It's
fan.
just, you know, for some reason this stuff won't bore me, but it's so simple, and it is totally repetitive, but it has so much attitude behind it, it's so much character, you know, without being so obvious with it, that it really, you know, it makes for a much more satisfying product,
Yeah.
you know, and
And
that's...
Loops.
Yeah, bands like Loop, I mean, you know, that stuff some of it's just so self-indulgent. I mean, Michael and I's like current favorite is this one Loop song. It's just 15 minutes of the same two notes. But god damn it, they believe it, you know? They believe those two notes. And every little change they do, they believe it. You're just listening to it driving, and then, you know, before you know it, you're doing 85 miles an hour and you're in the wrong lane, you know. But it's like, you know, when someone can do that, when somebody can believe in it that much.
When someone can put you in the wrong lane, you've got to win.
So
With my license, yeah.
So we're playing with like people like Soup Dragon. That just,
Yeah, that's weird. Like
it just like, I mean, it makes me realize what we're doing so much more because it's so different. They're so tight, and like it's like this like pop thing, and we're nothing like that.
Yeah.
And it just makes me so much more aware of what we're doing, and it's almost like a self-conscious thing because it's like I almost think that because we're playing with them, you know, I try not to lean towards the more repetitive type of thing we do, and it kind of influenced me. And I wish we would play with things like Loop, you know, just like have a mindset that we would get into.
Well, me personally, as long as we're honest with what we're doing with ourselves, we can play with
Lawrence Welk.
Lawrence Welk. You know what I'm saying? I don't
He
care.
wasn't dead.
Right. Who
That's
you're
the idea.
playing with. Personally, I just think that whatever mind frame you go into the show with is what you're going to do. Now, maybe the Lawrence Welk audience might not love you, but tough shit.
Yeah, I mean, face it, our orientation is pop music, you know, growing up on pop music, you know what I mean? I mean, I'm not from this ultra hip family where I grew up listening to obscure jazz and Sun Ra and all this stuff. I mean, I grew up on pop music. Somewhere there's twist and shout in like probably everything I'm doing. So be it, you know what I mean? I mean, we're all kind of products of the suburbs. But that's all right, you know what I mean? I mean, that's like, you know, punk rock America style happened, you know. It's no mistake that Minor Threat is made up of like, you know, a bunch of senators' kids, you know, with trust funds and stuff. Pussy galore, all trust fund kids. No problem, man. I don't have any problem with that. That's totally honest. You know, Mick Jagger graduated from London School of Economics. Hell yeah. You know, that stuff's it's all really honest to me.
I mean, you got your college, graduated. You can still be covert.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is like, you know, this is like a release, you know. But you find it's those things you do recreationally that you really think you're not taking serious. That's actually the shit that means the most to you, you know. Those hobbies and stuff that you really get into and stuff, you know. And that's kind of the deal. I mean, like for me, spending, you know, one of the things I'm doing now is journalism and just being this wordy, overeducated, you know.
Which
kind
you'd
of-
never get from this interview.
kind of rambling freak, you know what I mean? But it's cool musically just to shut up and just, you know, see what's up with one or two notes.
I'm just kidding, homie.
It's pretty cool. Some of us host children's shows.
That's right.
Some of us host children's shows.
But we don't get uptight about it. Now, do we?
Channel 56.
That's cool though. I
Let's
saw
talk.
you
You
on
want to?
TV.
Did you?
Yes.
We should talk about careers, man. That would rule.
Careers? I want to make it with this band.
I'm an old hippie's houseboy. What do you do? You host a
I
children's
host
show?
a children's show, and soon I will take those children and turn them into fans who buy our records.
Well, that's the key too. With bands like Sonic Youth getting so much push, you've got like little kids buying the end of Sonic Youth's career. Sonic Youth started out with a lot of the same ideas we did. They've got some stuff that's really subtle, repetitive. They already explored that whole territory. They're moving beyond it. But now they're getting to the point where they're attracting a much younger audience. And to see sort of the end of something, or to see it that developed, you kind of, what we're trying to do is take a lot of these ideas and make it much more accessible. Make it sort of like a ground level thing. I don't mind the fact that my little sister enjoys what I do musically, you know what I mean? Because she's like an audience. She's part of communicating, you know what I mean? And I think that's real honest in it too, It's like, I don't want to play music that just really hit people who work at record stores like.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty talked out. How do you guys feel about this?
I don't
Pretty
know.
much express the
Touch
ideas. Is there
everything.
anything else we want to talk about here?
I don't know.
No sense.
There's no phenomenon.
We talked in abstracts, I think. We didn't talk specifics too much, but I don't know if that's what you want.
I'll be able to work with it. With
Yeah.
the live footage that I have. Well, maybe I think we'll come out on Friday.
Do what?
What's that?
I think we're going to come out Friday and do it at the light board.
Oh, well, you should.
Cool.
We took some footage of Sonic Youth from the balcony there, and it came out really good. It was a great perspective, so I'd like to do the same
Cool.
thing with you guys.
Excellent.
I've got this really neat lens that does 5 images at once.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like a fly lens?
Fly eye.
Yeah, just like the kaleidoscopes that you got out of craft.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the
So
one
it's-
when
but it's
Gilligan
good
drinks
lens.
that punch, that mango juice, it makes him see everything.
Cool.
But it worked out really well with Sonic Youth, and we might use that, and maybe not. That their interview came out so bad. It's really kind of scary with a band like you that the fundamentals has a whole lot more to say and it's more intelligent
Yeah.
than Sonic
They
Youth.
probably
They're
just
probably
gave
so
up.
big.
They're just bored with it,
Bored,
It's
yeah.
still fresh with us. I mean, that's the key.
We still think it all matters.
We're not tired of being.
Right.
Yeah, we're not tired of being ourselves.
Right.
Yeah, which is nice.
Once you've done your
Yeah.
third spin cover or whatever, what does it really
Yeah.
matter anymore?
Their interview was so bad.
Really?
They were drugged out, drunk, and just not into it. They're like, oh, interview.
They're,
Yeah,
which
it's
is
a lot
a
more
shame
honest.
because they're really intelligent. I mean, like Kim Gordon's written for Art in America. Thurston. All those guys have that heavy Bronca
You wouldn't
influence.
believe if you heard their interview, you never guessed that a brand.
Right. Well, I mean, they're burnt out. They're on a tour. They're not a band anymore. Now they're performers. They're entertainment and they're hired guns. They're collecting paychecks. I'd get sick of that too. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the deal. What we do. I never want to be that kind of band that plays out like every night and stuff. I don't think we could handle it. It's just too much.
Yeah, I think there's something. Well, Dave disagrees with this. Personally, I've always liked selective. I think in order to keep it special to yourself,
You gotta
unless you're
keep it
on
an
a
event,
tour
man.
where each location is different,
Is
then
an
that
event.
changes it.
I mean,
itself.
city to city.
Right, city,
Yeah.
city, that's fine. But in terms of staying in the same
Bird.
town, I like keeping things special. I would never want to play every night. I would want to make it an event.
Yeah, we were in the studio the other night, and this guy's been in this band, and they've toured, and they've used to play out all the time, and he's like, after a few years, they finally decided, it's probably better if we don't. And those guys went through so much stuff to get to the point where we already are, which is, man, when you play, it's got to be an event. It's not just a gig, it's an event. There's something unique and special about it. There's an energy that comes out then,
Some bands love touring, I mean, personally, I love traveling.
Touring would be great.
touring
Well, see,
rules.
touring changes the location though, and that's
Right,
what
well,
makes
that's
it
what we're
an event.
talking
No,
about.
I was talking about being in your own town, like staying in your own town.
Yeah, if
and
you played a
playing.
different place every single night of
Yeah.
the week,
Right.
people
Right.
wouldn't
Well,
come
I
out and
think-
see you. They'd think that they're always going to play and catch you anytime.
Right, exactly. In your own town, I think you should make things special. Unless, let's face it, bands need money. You gotta play some gigs to get some money.
No, totally.
A couple
That's
months,
cool,
yeah.
I mean, that's
But we'll never
totally
play that whole
understandable.
Detroit scene
Yeah, never like
we'll
two
never-
sets,
The pubs,
bar
like Hamtramck
specials.
pubs,
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
pizza, whatever.
I mean, we usually try not to play for a whole lot.
We don't
more than a
think of
half hour.
ourselves as like a local band, and I hope I'm not speaking for myself, but we don't want to be
Just
this
speaking
awful
for me,
local band
right.
that just plays gigs at these
Yeah.
awful.
I mean, local band is synonymous with like an amazing amount of just stuff that keeps you so down and keeps you there. I mean, there's a lot of talent in Detroit, but it's so into being a local band. I'm like, man, it's like you got to believe what you're doing. you know, is just the greatest thing since sliced bread. And you got to be able to like look at it like that. And you know, Detroit sometimes suffers from a lot of low cultural self-esteem. But it's like, man, you know, we could hang with just about any band in America.
And when you go to other cities and you say you're from Detroit, man, people take you so seriously.
Right.
I think if
Cool.
people knew that in Detroit, they would have a whole different attitude about themselves. Because you go to, you know, even New York or God knows Europe, and you go, I'm from Detroit, man. They're just like,
And you're still alive?
right, yeah. Besides that, they really think you can.
And here it is,
music.
Devil's Night. Should be like sirens out the window, dudes and ladders coming through.
God. That's about it for me because I have to use the bathroom.
Yeah, I do too. It's a good sword.
Now that these assholes are gone, you
Yeah, now I'm dealing with
we're the nucleus of this band.
Can I see what that looks like through there?
Yeah, it's neat. It looks really different.
Here, go sit there. Oh, wow. Sit where I was sitting to make sure of
Oh yeah, I made
Here
sure.
and there.
No, I cut just like this.
Yeah.
So there's
The
like
front
one
part.
eye and half your mouth.
That's really neat, the Coke bottle. Oh, wow, yeah.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And then when you put it on autofocus, it keeps going like this, so everything moves.
Is that just something you found, or is it supposed to
It's
fit
a
in
lens.
there?
$6.
We've got
How
an
does it-
adapter
I-
for it.
Oh, I see.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the filter.
No,
Grand.
You don't have to hold it there.
Yeah,
I want to get one. What would you recommend?